Welcome to NewsShowTV and Look Algarve TV, this time in the new studio in Lagos across the marina. And with a guest I had already in Praia da Luz, in the glass studio in the Aconcha on the promenade in Luz, Gerry Fagan. Thank you very much for coming again.
It's a pleasure, my pleasure always.
Thank you. We had a very nice conversation. Let's say a little bit business oriented, a mixture, but what I found out was there is so much experience. and I feel there are so many people out there, they want to know a little bit more, maybe even get inspired. Well, you had ups, downs, life came along in between business and what everybody has, and this time I think it's very important to give a lot of people not only hope, but the way how you can maybe structure something, and so I want to talk a little bit about that and your project. And as I know, you came here to Portugal 2000?
Yes, actually we're 25 years in business in Portugal this year. We're celebrating in October. And but before that, I was coming to Portugal for 25 years
already.
So I actually came here 50 years ago for the first time, you know. So and I came. It was funny. I was just after having my qualification as an accountant, and I'd worked very hard. I'd worked in the office and studied after hours and all the usual thing. And there was a lot of hours that you had to work. And then you had to do some work on the weekend, like people's accounts and so forth and so on, because that's how you earn the money, because accounting when you were training was very poorly paid. Yeah. So, and just to put context on it, my first job as an accounting clerk was £2.50 a week, okay? And after after 3 full years of studying, that went up to the enormous amount of £11.50. So it wasn't a well-paid business until you became qualified.
Right, yeah.
And before that, I had a very short experience with the real inspiration of my life, which was my dad. And I worked from school as in a timber yard, and I was supposed to be material to take over from my dad in this timber yard. Yeah. So I studied in technical school, timber technology, and I didn't know that later in life that might be some help to me, but that was the way it was. But I learned an awful lot from my father, his work ethic, and in particular in those days, like Dad would have worked. My father's name was Gerry Fagan. He was a famous football player, soccer player in Ireland. He was the longest serving captain of a team called Drogheda United, and Drogheda United just won the FAI Cup last year, again, for the second time in the history. But Dad's team won the equivalent of it 3 times in his history. So he was 19 years captain of Drogheda, and I have a picture of the day he retired at 41 years of age.
Wow.
And I'm standing beside him here like this, you know. And it's a great memory and great picture, and fitting because I admired him so much. And then when I actually got to know what he did, and in the timber yard, for example, he was responsible for over 50 people, okay? And largely these were manual workers, and they took a lot of talking to. So I didn't realize that my father had linguistic abilities from the start, and I mean very bad language that he had to employ when he was trying to give instructions to these people. But one of the things that fascinated me about him was that on his half day on Saturday morning, I used to go down to work with him, and I used to watch him, and he had 3 40-foot lorries. Mm-hmm. And what he had to do was organize the orders for the week.
Yep.
And it was a very big, very, very big company. And so when he was organizing those with a sheet of paper and a pencil, he used to work out from the inside out. The inside orders were the last orders to be dropped off, and the outside orders, obviously, you had to go left and right, and you had to balance the trailer. And he did that with a pencil and in his mind, all the weights of the timber. And obviously, hard timber had to go to the bottom because that was a base that you had. And these lorries could be piled as much as 15 feet high, you know. So it was, watching him do that was an absolute fascination for me. And then on top of that, as a little kid, watching him play football and his majesty with the ball, you know. And in that last game, he scored the winning goal to win the cup for Drogheda United at that stage. So he was a fascinating man.
Wow.
But his work ethic was unbelievable, because in the evening, after he finished his daytime job, he would go to work as a carpenter.
Wood again.
Again, and off he'd go. And we didn't see much of him. I mean, some people might say, oh, he might not have been a great father, but he was. He was a superb father, and he was somebody that we knew by his work ethic that he was looking after us. And that was a big inspiration. So
Good foundation.
Yeah, it was a great foundation, and I had in my school days, I had done well with the subjects of accounting and business organisation and all that, but I never sort of thought myself as an accountant, you know. I still don't think about it either, by the way.
It's a different feeling.
It's a different feeling, you know. But one of the things that I got from that accounting experience was I got a great basis on about business and how it's run. And then, of course, when you get into auditing, you see so many different styles and different businesses and so on. And again, that was quite inspiring, because you see a lot of people that are building businesses and how they build them. But the one thing that was evident all the time was that you had to work very hard.
Always.
And
some people don't understand.
I mean, you can talk about inspiration and so on, but inspiration comes from hard work.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
That's the bottom line, you know.
People sometimes they have no clue where to go, and then they catch something and they try something and they leave it again, and then so you have to go through. So the learning of the being precise in the timber and everything again. That's
well, the old saying in Ireland used to be, with carpenters, is that you measure twice and cut once.
Right, exactly. There is no chance to put something on it again.
Exactly. So when you get into accounting and balance sheets and so forth and so on, I mean, our early training was, for example, the principal of the business used to come along and used to tear a sheet out of a phone book and used to say, add the phone numbers up. You'd have 100 phone numbers at the bottom, and you'd have to, and he had a calculator to calculate it, and you had to, until you got that right, you didn't get your next job.
Exactly.
So it was you know, it was a good education from that point of view, you know. So, and then you know, when I qualified, and then I started to look for, you know, where can I sort of, with all this work that I was doing and so on, where can I have a nice holiday, you know, that I can sort of relax and so on. And I ended up, actually my first international holiday was in Spain. I'm sorry to say it was a disaster. And it just didn't work out well. I won't even mention the resort, but it was terrible. And I remember coming back from Spain thinking, I'm actually more stressed out now than I was before I came. So the following year, I was wondering what would I do, and I saw an advertisement in the back of the Irish Times, and it said something special. I said, something special? Oh, let's have a look at that. Something special, Portugal. So saw the number, rang it. There was a guy called George Viegas on the other end of the phone. George subsequently became one of my best men a few years later.
Okay.
So, and he spoke perfect English, And he sold this holiday to me, and the first holiday that I had was in the very first section of development in Val d'Olobo.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
I just was there recently.
Yes,
That's
yeah,
funny.
yeah. Right down at the front, actually, right beside the front pool and the Parasa.
Okay.
So, and when we got to Portugal and everything went so well, and George had organised everything for us so well, he's a very good estate agent now down in Amansell. He's still a great friend, and George made everything very smooth for us. He recommended restaurants to us, and you know we went though to what I would call Val d'Olobo was being built by Costain at the time, so it was Italian but English-based company, you know. So there was a lot of English in the resort at the time, and I thought to myself, we need to find more of Portugal. So George introduced us to a couple of his friends, one who was a great restaurateur down in Amansell, Horacio Adriano, who became one of my best friends in Portugal. Sadly, he died a couple of years ago, but his family still continues the business. They have a great restaurant down there called O Ribeiro. And he was another inspiration to me because he bloody worked hard, you know, and he chefed his own restaurant. He'd previously been chef to André Jourdain, who is one of my favourite people in all the world in terms of learning from him and trying to emulate what he did. But a very special person, and I thought he taught me a lot about Portugal, and he made me feel very welcome. And then his family made me feel welcome, and his extended family. Then I started over the years. I was back every year. I've been in Portugal every year in the 50 years.
Wow.
So, and then maybe about 15 years after my first visit here, I bought a little place down in Amansell, and we had that as our holiday home, which we came to as often as possible, like 3-4 times a year. And it was I just fell in love with Portugal the very first time that I was here.
Understandable.
And it was all about the people, and like the place was beautiful. We all know. We know the food is excellent. You can see that, and also the wine is excellent, and then you have this fantastic ability to do everything outdoors, and really liked the pace of it. And it reminded me a lot of the west of Ireland. You know, it had that lovely feel to it, and lovely family feel to it, and that was another inspiration as well to see how they. It was more like that, and over the years, then it became a natural place for me to come and do business, you know, and I decided that our business in Ireland became very big. We ended up with about 30,000 employees. I set up operations in places like Egypt. I lived in Cairo for a bit. I lived down in Jakarta in Indonesia for a bit as well, and set up a business down there. And that was all in the food and beverage catering business. Okay. So I was beginning to learn a lot about servicing, you know, and then over the years, that business became a very, very big business in Ireland, and almost too big. And we some of us in the company, the founders, if you like, in particular, thought that we should maybe go and have a listing and so forth and so on. And for me, that wasn't something that I felt that I wanted to be part of, because you know, you're so many years sort of operating together and sorting out things over in one of our coffee shops, over a cup of coffee in the morning or whatever, and suddenly you have 12 board members and so on. So
shareholder value and
all of that, like, you know, like, and also it was taking some of the personality out of it, because it was a change, and also it meant for me that I couldn't be myself,
right?
Because I had to be somebody else. you saw recently what's happened with the poor guy that was at a Coldplay concert.
Right.
You know, so I mean, that's what that sort of thing happens. So you have to react differently and be a different person. So at that point in time, I decided that it was time to retire. So anyway,
it worked.
And as part of my retirement, I ended up being a non-executive director of the firm. I was chairman of a couple of the companies as well, and I suppose in a way I still had a connection, but I was coming to Portugal, and that was it. And when on that journey coming to Portugal, I already had my property here. I was introduced to a Mancunian, Simon Burgess, who later became my business partner and had a big effect, if you like, on the whole Oceanico group. And he was looking for somebody to partner with. I was coming here, and our lawyer introduced us, Justin Ryan, and who's still down in Amsterdam and so on, and well known, all active, all good, and strangely, you know, we met actually at Dublin Airport. I was coming back from Portugal, and he came across to meet me, and within a couple of hours we just clicked, and I decided to buy into his first development, which was Jardim de Minha Praia, which is just above here,
Which has been there for a nice concert.
I saw that. I saw you. You all looked very well, and indeed it's strange because the official opening there, we had a fantastic Irish band that actually opened it for us, and we over the years we've always had an association with music. Indeed, we had at one stage the Festival of the Wild Geese, where we had you know, various people like the Dubliners, it's great, and we did that around all the developments at one stage, you know. So it was interesting, and that then when I met with Simon, he was a very dynamic guy. He was 10 years younger than me, no, more, 15 years younger than me, and I just thought he reminded me of me when I was 15 years younger, you know, and he was a great driver, you know. So, and then when we bought it, we had a meeting when we came here, and he said, why don't we really get into this in a big way, you know? And I'd already realised that I wasn't too good at the golf, you know, like I could just about play, you know, but I was more a social golfer. So I said to myself, I'm not going to be twiddling my thumbs all day, despite everything, despite all the beauty and all of that. I just needed something to do. So we formed the company, and that later became the Oceanico Group. And then we decided that we wanted to do things a little bit different here. The developers at that stage had a habit of selling off plan, and not necessarily starting off by putting the infrastructure in. Now, the laws and all of that have changed in the meantime, but in Jardim de Minha Praia, for example, we built the restaurant, bar, pool area, tennis courts, everything, before we turned the brick or before we put foundations for the apartments. Okay. So we actually used the restaurant as a sales office. It was a nice showcase, and then we built out from the restaurant, and we sold out that in about 3 months.
That's feeling, you
know,
what you sold.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Touching it and being a part of it.
And we had a great architect who came with us all on the journey, particularly through Lagos and Luge, and his main office is in Cascais, but he had a sub office here, Nuno de Sousa, and he just captured what we wanted, you know, and we created a nice quality there, you know, and it's there to this day. It's something that all of those units that we built, you know, and I think I mentioned before, we have been involved in about 2,500 units altogether. We're very proud of them all because they've all sustained. and there's people still living in them, and I still get compliments. You know, that was a great buy that we had there. You know, I met some people at a launch only across the road here with CB Resorts, who now look after and are owners actually of a number of our previous resorts. And I had a lot of people coming up to me saying, "Oh my God, we're there for 20 years and we love it still." You know, so I think so. Yeah.
Wow, but not playing so much golf, but being involved in golf like crazy, or?
Yes. Yeah. I think what happened was that when I came first, I was actually playing rugby 50 years ago, you know. So and I wasn't a bad player. I wasn't great either, you know. But I love rugby, and I used to wonder about all these people playing golf and following around a little white ball and no contact, you know, and stuff like that. And then
sometimes no contact with the ball.
Correct. And then at about 35, I had a serious Achilles job, and that was it. That was rugby gone for me. And then it actually made sense about the golf, you know. So I started playing golf, and during those years after I was 35, again we would do 2 trips a year to play golf here. With a group. We would minimum of 8, usually 12 of us would come and we'd play. And at that stage, you see, the Western Algarve wasn't really as developed, you know. I mean, I didn't go often for 20 years beyond Portimao, even for a trip, you know, because you had everything there it was very well developed in Quinta del Lago, Val de Lobo, you know, Dunas de Radish, all of that, and still, of course, is, and it's obviously still the Golden Triangle, you know, so on, everybody likes it, but it was during that period that we discovered here, and actually the first thing I came to see, even though I wasn't getting into the development business at the time, I was encouraged to come up and look at Palmares. Because at that stage that was under government control, and it was muted that it was going to be sold. And I came up to have a look at it, more out of interest and so on, because I didn't, back in Ireland we were starting to do a little bit of development. We were developing some hotels, we had restaurants, we had bars, we had various things like that. And on the home front I was involved in some development as well. So I was getting some sort of an idea about it, but
pioneer work.
Yeah, I didn't actually see it. I was still very involved in the service catering business, and all of the family is, like my wife is a qualified catering supervisor, you know, and chef, and that. And so you sort of you're in it, you know, and all my nieces and nephews, who were sort of older at the time, we brought them up through the bar business and restaurant business and so on, and they learned their trade. Like my nephew is now responsible for, he's general manager for all catering in none other than Croke Park, that yesterday had 80,000 people in it. And well done, Tipperary.
Wow.
80,000 people in it yesterday, yeah. And he's done Coldplay, he's done all the concerts there and so on. So it's sort of ingrained in the family, the service side of it, you know. It's in the blood, yeah. And I know Simon, development was in his blood, and servicing was in my blood. So the two of us were a good match. We were a good match, and of course, then I got used to the development and so on. But we decided that I suppose every time we had an exhibition and we were exhibiting our apartments and so on, every second person would come to you and say, "Have you anything on a golf course?" So we got asked that question so many times that we said to ourselves, we need to consider this now. And we did consider it, and then we bought Amendoira. And in the course of developing Amendoira, we had the 2 courses almost completed. And again, we did the clubhouse. Yeah. So we did O'Connor and Faldo there, and we had a sort of a link to the Ryder Cup. We really liked the Ryder Cup, and Christy O'Connor is famous for having effectively won the Ryder Cup, and of course Sir Nick Faldo is still on the TV. Yesterday he was there at the Open and so on, and we decided that we would keep that sort of Ryder Cup connection, and so we had built the clubhouse. But then we were thinking to ourselves, like, to get this really going, we need to think a bit deeper about the golf and how important it was, because I was coming on a golf trip twice a year for 10, 15 years, and so myself and Simon decided, I think it was a bit of a joyride as well, but we decided to take the families for 3 weeks to America to study golf, so to speak. So we went to Pinehurst and Kiowa Island, and
I lived in Charleston, South Carolina.
Oh,
so
my God, Charleston is the most beautiful place, and it's, talk about food and restaurants and so on. Kiowa Island, very difficult as a golf course.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, I remember the tip that Christy O'Connor, Lord rest him, gave me, Christy O'Connor Jr. He said to me, you're playing against Simon a lot. Simon's big with the driver. He said, let him have his driver. He was advising the Irishman. And he said, take 7 irons. 7 iron from the tee onto the next bit of green, onto the green, and putt. I won all of the 3 matches.
Good advice, and taking advice.
But it was very interesting, because it's interesting you say about Charleston and about Kiowa Island, because a real inspiration for us was Pinehurst. Pinehurst had 8 full golf courses operating, including the famous number 2. And the family who owned that made us very welcome. We told them we were going to have a look at golf and so on. They had no intention of coming to Europe or anything like that. So, and they had such a big business there. So we got really inside their heads, really inside their management. We saw what they were doing. We loved the way they treated your bag, even from moment in to moment out. We loved the way that your clubs came clean, you know, and it was on the tee box for you when you arrived at 7 or 6 or 2. We stayed then to experience it in the Charleston Hotel, which you had to really do.
Omni Charleston Hotel.
Yeah,
and across the street in East Bay Street, I had a restaurant.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
In bakeries.
That's right.
In West Ashley, in Somerville, in downtown Charleston, and in Mount Pleasant.
Unbelievable. You know, and a small world, and we so enjoyed the experience there, and saw the efficiency of golf, and golf, as you know, in the States is a bit different, because you get guys traveling from New York down by car, and they'll come all the way down to Pinehurst. They'll play twice a day for 3 days and drive all the way back.
Yes.
And they'll have a bloody great night the night in betweens, you know, plenty of beer and food and everything else, and we love the whole setup and infrastructure. Pure service from top to bottom, and actually, and with respect to Portugal at the time, it didn't have quite that service ethic. You know, you go down and you check in. So he said, how we do that? And I said, well, it's quite simple. I'll ring Horacio. I was literally coming off the plane, and I was inside in the arrivals, and I rang Horacio, and he rang me back in 10 minutes, and he said, I have a meeting with Andre Jordan tomorrow for you. So after coming back from 3 weeks in America, we went straight up to Lisbon, met with the great Andre Jordan, who I'd known of, but hadn't met, and we crunched out a deal on the golf courses in about 2 months, and ended up buying them. And I remember when we bought that, there was a great deal of interest in it, because, I mean, Andre was a great visionary, you know. So, and he initially created Quinta del Lago. He initially created Villamora. You know, he was a guy that always thought big, you know. I suppose we felt, and I certainly felt, that we should be thinking big as well. So, let's move this, And of course, if we were going to buy golf courses, then we needed to find more sites for properties, because we had immediately got something that we could sell. So I mean, in a way, our thought process was actually quite strategic, but it was also led by people, inspirational people who sort of did the right thing, So one of the other things about Andre and about generally about some of those really interesting developers in Portugal, they actually wanted to do a very good job, and they wanted to paint Portugal in the right manner. And he used to say to me, he often said to me, it's about quality, not about quantity, And he meant that for the golf courses as well. So that's how we ended up buying the 5 golf courses down there. Then we did a joint venture, and we developed, and actually it was the last golf course of the great Seve Ballesteros. His design was Royal Obidos. And we had the pleasure of dealing with the great Seve, with some great stories with Seve, I can tell you, And he was actually, he was sometimes very difficult to deal with, but he also could be so funny, and we had some great evenings with him, and he was a guy that sometimes you say, oh, he was a simple guy from Spain and all that business, but he did like the notoriety. He loved being noticed and so on, and we were at the K Club on a Ryder Cup, and we had a table, and he was one of our guests, and I remember distinctly John Aldridge, I think, who you met, and he did a fantastic acknowledgement and I suppose piece on Jota recently, and John we became very friendly with, but John had won a singing competition in Ireland. Okay. And it was one of these, really strange singing competitions. I don't know how he won it, because he was terrible. Sorry, John. He was terrible, but he sang Ring of Fire, okay?
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, and that had gone out just the week before the Ryder Cup. Okay. So we were in the K Club, and John was there, and Seve was there. But all the people were coming up to John for the signature because he just won the competition. And Seve was disgusted, So, and I had to say to him, calm down, Seve, He said, but this is the K Club, Right. I am even sponsored. I have the wine. The wine is my Rioja, and and we knocked such a great laugh out of that. But he wasn't taking it too well at the time, So we had to calm him down, and then, of course, being Seve, he had to be put in a private jet and brought up to, and we were going all the way up then to Lisbon, directly from the Ryder Cup. But when he was in the VIP section in Dublin Airport at the time when we were leaving, everybody came up to him, Sure. I mean, they just loved him, So it's a great legacy that we were involved with him, number one. And of course with the great Sir Nick Faldo and also Lord Rest Christy O'Connor Jr. Christie's Juniors has got another relation which is down the coast in one of the nice golf courses down along the coast, and he coaches down there and so on. And he came here and we remained friends with him as well. But I think all of that was sort of, when you combine the whole thing, we ended up in a situation where the strategy was nearly made for us, because, why would you do all this? And we were also very big into marketing. And, when we came into the market first, and over the first 10 years, I think in year 7 or something like that, we spent more money on marketing in the UK and Ireland than the Portuguese government had through tourism.
Wow.
And we were saying to ourselves, there's little point in doing that unless we have the volume, to do it. Right. Scott knows this from the marketing side.
Some guests here also, hi Scott, and all the others, and Ken, and so a little full house as always.
Yes. So it was very, very, very interesting. And then it's well enough having the strategy, but then you have to deliver it.
Yeah, right.
And you have to deliver the product.
Yeah.
So, and you have to get over the planning issues, and you have to, you have to move in. So the inspiration there is simple. You have to get the professionals.
Right.
So we had a top-class team of professionals, everything from architects, project managers, the whole lot, and we employed the best. We did always work very well with the cameras, and as you know, Lagos and Luges has benefited from everything that we've done in one way or another. And we don't like to sort of enforce something on a camera. We like to work in conjunction with them and make sure that we're actually putting something into the community as well. I think that was very important,
But I think it was not only the golf course or some houses around some development, so there also academy and the infrastructure or to
well,
more.
There's a little story about that as well, because and it goes back a little bit to our association with John Aldridge, and generally, like we actually had here in Lagos, we had the full Irish team squad here for training a couple of times, and it was that sort of association and lack of facilities, if you like, that drove us to have a look at that. And I have to say that we always like to study things, and so we took it. It was really difficult for us to go down to La Manga. So we went down and spent a week in La Manga, played loads of golf, and had a look at the academies there and so on. And we were fascinated, And I remember we met Kenny Dalglish down there, and we were asking him why did he come here, and he started telling us about the extent of the facilities and what professional players needed. We also had John here. We had a lot of other people that were involved in. We had the FAI and so on. So we said, my God, we've got so much land here. Let's really develop something special here. And then over the years, then it was a question of marketing and selling it. And we ended up with the Irish Connection. We had Dublin hurlers there. We had Dublin. We had Kerry. We had, all the Irish Gaelic teams. We had loads of the soccer teams over the years. And now there's an awful lot of, even at this stage, it's under new ownership now, but they do a great job down there now, the team at Amendoira, and it's improving all the time. They've added now paddle courts to it. So there's tennis, paddle, everything you can do. And we designed it, we made a very large pitch there. And what we used to do was mark the pitch to the same sizes as the home pitch, okay? So the home pitch would be, their home pitch, say we had Leicester there. So we'd get the measurements of their home pitch and we'd mark it out exactly so that they were actually training on a pitch the exact same size as theirs. And we had great attention to detail, and things like, we all discussed the diet. We had our own chefs that were there. They always brought chefs as well, but we had to get the materials and so forth, so on. So we had a complete package for them, and that worked out very well. It also made very good use of the land, and also these things are off season, because so you're in a position where you're getting occupancy off season. So everything that we did was based around selling golf rounds, selling property, and also selling the added services like that we could provide, because it was all there. We had the biggest clubhouse probably in the whole of Portugal is Amendoira, and it's superb, So great facility, and so it's that again almost it talks to you, it tells you what you have to do, and the strategy then comes down onto a sheet, and as I say, then you have to deliver it, So,
especially also when you have teams there and everything, this is marketing by themselves. People want to join, want to be there, where they train and where they're hanging around, and so it helps.
It does.
Both sides.
It does. And Look, there was a good use of celebrities as well.
Right.
We had, over the years, we had 7 golfers. Lee Westwood, for example, who had a great open round over the last 4 days. He actually came as an ambassador, and part of what happened to him in the end was he ended up winning the Portugal Masters, which was a fantastic thing that one of our own ambassadors actually did it. Pádraig Harrington wore the Oceanico hat when he won the Open,
yeah.
and when he won the Players' Championship, you know. So the marketing was working, you know, and those celebrities were working for us as well.
But this was also the way the luxury market came
exactly
along, and you
exactly I think not just luxury villas, but luxury apartments and so on, and I think to have, you know, to have some of the celebrities that we have, sometimes the celebrities can be an overkill, but not, and to be honest, there's people before us did it as well. Parque de Floresta, way back, even 10 years, 15 years before we existed, you know, did a great job, because remember, there wasn't the A22 at that stage.
Right.
So, and it's further out, as you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was taking 2 hours to go down there, but they had probably the top 20 celebrities in the UK as part of their, and of course, celebrity was always around. If you look at Penina, you know, you had the golf course designed there by a great English, you know, golfer.
Really substantial. It looks far back in the time when you enter.
Absolutely.
It, you
feel it,
time,
yeah,
yes,
and like that was the first 5-star golf. Golf and resort, you know, in the whole of the Algarve, you know. So it was amazing, you know, that so you learn some things from the past, and you try and get it better, you know, and do it better and implement better, and in Portugal try and implement quicker, because that's one of the issues that everybody has to accommodate, is that there's a different planning system. I think when you come from the UK and Ireland and the other European states, you sort of think that you can do everything your way, but you can't, and that's where you need the professionals, you know. So as I said, we had a great team of professionals. We had a great team of professionals on the marketing side and so on. We relied on them, you know. So, and we used to, like when we had a sales and marketing conference, we went to different places in the world. Like we went to Brazil one time, we went to the States as well. So we wanted the team to see what we were trying to emulate, you know. And when they saw them, they had actually more ideas than we had. So you have to spend a bit of money and getting the professionals right, you know, motivating your marketing team and getting them to understand what you want the final product to look like, both in service,
much
the outcome.
Bigger.
Yes,
definitely.
Have
a little thing just here, you can have
that's it.
big
That's
things. But there's, well, we also faced, like the whole world faced certain times. So I faced it very hard too. So 2008 was the following year.
I mean, I suppose in our case was strange, because we were cocooned to a certain extent in Portugal, and probably one of the lessons that certainly I've taken from it and our team has, is that, you know, keep an eye on what's happening in the world, keep an eye on what's happening in the macro picture.
End of the world,
you never know how it's going to knock on, and most of our clients are coming from outside the country, you know. So in golfing terms, even at that time, I mean, 80% of the golfers came from the UK and Ireland. It's spread now a bit more, but still, I read stat the other day that still 45% is the UK alone, 10% is Ireland, and then the rest is from different European countries. And now a big increase in the States as well coming. Not that they haven't got enough to be going to in the States, but
No,
as you know,
they want to leave.
I don't want to leave. Yeah.
Right.
I think that in terms of our sort of thought process was a little bit cocooned, and we were selling.
Yeah.
And we had two very big developments operating, one Belmar, which had 178 units, and one Amendoira, which had 242 units. And suddenly, you know, we find that our bank is no longer giving us our drawdowns, you know, our monthly drawdown. And you're going, one month is one thing, but 2 months, what's going on here? So we end up having a meeting in Dublin with our bank. Our bank was the fated Anglo-Irish Bank, who were an excellent bank, I have to say, and had excellent people in it. And when we went to Dublin, we were meeting with top 3 directors in it, and we met them at Dublin Airport, actually in the same hotel that I met Simon, which was a coincidence. And after having the session with them, we had a separate meeting room there. They said, the things are a bit tight on the credit front at the moment, and there's things happening that we're not in control of, and but we're working on it, you know, and we'll get you those two drawdowns. And myself and Simon happily went into the bar afterwards, and we were having a couple of pints of Guinness, and 9 o'clock news came up on the bar television. Anglo-Irish Bank nationalised.
Yep.
And Simon turned to me and said, "What are we going to do?" I said, "I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to go down to that Thai restaurant. We're going to get some great South African wine in it. We're going to have a nice meal. And tomorrow we'll face this problem," because I basically said to him, it's over for us, because this is really serious. If the bank is nationalised, we had 38 million in client deposits in that bank. So if you're talking about a headache, we had a big headache, big headache. So the following morning we had a headache and we returned back to Portugal. And of course you couldn't get any news, you couldn't contact anybody. But we knew very much that this was a change, a big change, and a big change in the game. And what was the fact that they were nationalised, and you couldn't move one way or the other. You couldn't also move to finishing out the project.
Exactly.
And therefore closing. We were 100% sold out in both resorts. You know, as you can see, with 34 million in deposits, you know. Yeah. So we had the ability to bring in another around about 300 million at the time. I mean, it was phenomenal, you know. So over those units, and we couldn't make sense. We couldn't do it. Couldn't contact anybody. And then suddenly we hear that they are effectively, the loans have been sold to the bad bank, NAMA. And that was a massive game changer, because you could do nothing. NAMA were put into the position that they were, generally speaking, all decent people and so forth and so on, but they had no experience. They weren't developers, number one, and they weren't operators, number two. So I suppose at that point in time, we couldn't sell. We couldn't do anything. We were
tied up.
We were completely tied up, and our assets were tied up as well. So and we had to ensure that our clients' money was safe, which we did, and we ensured that every single penny in deposits were paid back or was converted into the sale eventually. More than one issue, you know, pretty serious issues, you know. That was, it was almost like, you know, you were suspended, and you were up here and you could do nothing, and very unlike the way we operated. You know, we always like to move forward and get things done and deliver the product and so on. So we were more or less prevented from that. And then we had a situation where and this, of course, you know, because you end up with the situation where bad bank takes over. Your loans are now subject to being purchased by somebody else, and the underlying assets are therefore purchased and so on. So we had that awful experience, and that took about 5 years from my life, you know. So it was horrendous, and during that time, then we sort of decided, our team, if you like, our core team decided that we're going nowhere fast with this. So what can we do? So we decided to set up DDM. And we decided to set up DDM as a development management company. So why did we do that? Well, again, you had bad banks that had no experience in either development or operation. You had loan purchasers, had nothing whatsoever. You now had a market that was controlled by totally inexperienced people, and they were controlling the assets, and on top of that, it was driven by really spreadsheet jockeys, you know, people who just looked at returns and so on. They'd already bought the loans at a very cheap price, and they just wanted to make a fortune on those. So nothing. So we thought we'd fill maybe the experience gap for them. So what we did then was we set up DDM to offer development management services, and we started. I suppose there was a means to an end. At least we could do that, and you know, have our experience, if you like, earn something, and keep us all going while we were doing it, until we reached a day where we could get back into development ourselves, which is what we did. And you know, that took a cycle. I mean, all told, the bad bank loan situation and so on, all took around about 12 years to clear out of the system, you know, and to get back to our feet again, you know. So, and look, we've been very lucky as well. We've landed with a couple of fantastic projects, and you know, Reserva, the lose yourself. I mean, it's you know, south-facing plots. You know, we're down to our last 12, and the clock is ticking now. So we're just going to set up a little marketing campaign to try and push those away. One of the reasons we want to do that is because as sort of an experienced developer, and knowing what can happen and how things can transpire over the years, there was originally 85 plots there. So with 12 left, what we want to do is, we don't want that development going on forever.
Right, finish.
So we want to see it finished. We want to see it clear, you know.
So I suppose the first guy who bought the first house,
exactly. And it's taken a responsible approach, if you like, to it. And we're going to offer a really good package there, because we've got concept architectural designs, we've got fixed price architecture, we've got fixed price in relation to also the project management, and we will have a good estimate of the construction costs, so the people coming along to buy the plot will have a plan and a fixed cost for doing the things, because very often it's that sort of factor that puts them off, because they'll have to deal with a project manager, they'll have to deal with an architect, and nobody wants that. And we've beautiful conceptual designs for these last properties. Not alone that, I mean, with the architectural concept, we have protected views, because it's us controlling what happens on that site, and that's what we want to sell to the client, you know. So we want to sell the full package. And of course, if they really don't want to get involved, we'll construct it for them. We'll do the development. We're a development manager, you know. So exactly, and give them a turnkey on it, you know. So that's sort of what we're at now. We're shortly going to start. We have 3 very nice apartments in the centre of town, Nova Terraces. We're ready to start those now. and then we have to look forward to what's next.
Will be my next question. So we have, let's say, in total 50 years. We have 25 years around in development now. What's the next 25 years?
Yeah, it's very well. I won't be around after 25 years anyway. So
the story goes on. The story goes on.
I mean, it's funny. I remember on my first retirement, like I was 48 or something like that when I decided to first retire. You know, and I remember telling my dad. My dad worked all his life. I told you, he was an inspiration to us, and I remember telling him. He worked. He actually stayed active, and he went to a competitor in timber yard when he was 76, and he stayed working until he was 80, and then they had him contracted until he died. You know, so he used to go down to the office once a week and so on, and give out to them about what they were doing wrong and this, that, and the other, because again he had the experience for it. But I remember saying to Dad, I'm going to retire before I'm 50. I'm not going to have this situation where I'm working. And here I am now, you know.
Exactly. So it's the next phase in retirement.
It is.
What's going down the road?
I think for myself, I'm going to be 73 in October, you know, and I remember when I turned 70 and we had the big bash in the Adega, you know, I remember saying to people, you know, I'm going to start taking it easy. But it's not that I want to take it easy or anything like that, but what I want to do is I want to take my own advice to other people, where I say to other people, you know, you're coming here to live, you want to live the life, you want to live this holistic life, you want to, obviously after having a couple of very serious back operations over the last 18 months, and I think when you met me the last time, I was still on sticks and so on, and now
it
it's
was before
and before,
was
and I was actually paralyzed for nearly 4 months. But the system here and the health system got me back to health, and now I think going forward, that's something I want to be able to live a little bit of life and enjoy the very things that we're creating, if you like, you know. I'm constructing a unit myself in Reserva de Luge, and I'm looking forward to that. We're going to get started before the end of the year, so that's something to look forward to. I think also I have a young team now, you know, so
you have a great team.
I have a great team, and what I want to do is to, I suppose there's something that we're on the verge of doing. And I think the market in the Algarve is going to be in a way shocked about what we're going to do, but and I can't announce it yet. But it's
nobody's watching anyway, so don't worry.
It's something in the tourism sector that's going to be quite big. It's not development per se, but it's something that's going to be of great interest to people visiting the Algarve in Portugal. And again, the promoters of that business are very young. They're actually German, by the way.
Great.
And they've got great vision, and I really want to see this happening. But I'm not permitted to announce that just yet.
Don't worry.
But it will come next time. Next time. I mean, I think that's one. Of course, we're going to continue to do some development. One of the nice things now is that thankfully I can pick and choose what I want to do and what I wish to do. I still have a hankering about the golf, and it's always been successful for us when you have property and golf together. So you know we're looking at a few possibilities there, and I think also, I mean, for me now, again taking my own advice, I want to be able to enjoy my family, my friends, and I want to be able to enjoy Portugal.
Yeah. So basically, the story goes on, and the advice for people, they may be hanging in there, keep going.
Keep going, yeah.
Keep going.
Keep going.
There's always another day.
There's always another day. And you know, I know from some of my friends back in Ireland and even here in Portugal, you know, when you stop, it's almost it's the wrong thing.
Not moving anything.
It's not moving anything. Exactly, and it's not in my psyche to do that. You know, so I like doing that, and there'll be opportunities for members. I mean, I'm sort of delighted with the way my family is developing. I have two kids back in Ireland, not kids anymore. They've all done well for themselves, you know. So and my two kids here in Portugal, they're now at a stage where they're having their own achievements, you know. So having great results at university, you know, moving on and doing things, and I like to enjoy that. And I like to enjoy that.
That's emotions that helps. Even overcoming certain things. There's always something happening, but having this in the back and in mind.
I think more than anything else, it's important to love life and to enjoy it as much as you can. You know, every day is a bonus.
That's a wonderful Finnish word. Gerry, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
And it looks like there'll be a third part with all the things behind. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for watching. Thanks for the audience. And yeah, stay tuned. I think there is much more coming in the future. Thank you very much. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful day. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Ciao, ciao. Thank you.